Welcome. The paper that we are going to talk about is Development, Globalization in Society, and today's module under discussion is Resistance and Justice Movement, Mining. Let's try and understand what is the impact of mining, what are the resistance and justice movement, and we would be doing a specific case study of Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti. Mining has caused massive displacement of people. People have responded to this activity both by non-violent and violent ways. The Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti is one of the movement against the mining related development activities. Development has been in the currency for its claim of overcoming backwardness, poverty with progress and prosperity. But it would be seen that paradoxically, the grand narrative of development always have been ignorant to the consequence of the developmental activity. It's always the poor, oppressed, marginalized who pay the price for it. The tribal and Dalits are the example of it in India. The Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti case study will demonstrate that how development and the rights of the tribal are in conflict with each other. Development undoubtedly is a highly contested topic. Its advocate claim that it will address the present problem like overcoming backwardness, poverty and hunger. For them, big dam, hydroelectric projects, industries, minefields are the symbol of developmental activities, and high economic growth are the answers for all kind of problems. Those who are against of it warn about the consequences of development, particularly the harm it has done to the environment and nature. They argue that it is always the poor and the marginalized who bear the cost of the development. Modern developmental activities started during the British period. Post-independent India faced a huge challenge of massive poverty, hunger, stagnant economy and backwardness. Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, was left with no choice except for going into substantial modernization accompanied with industrialization. So for him, dams became the symbol of modern Indian temple. Nehru strongly believed in massive industrialization and believed that this model of development can meet the aspirations of the people. He also believed in the state-led development with the planning. The core of the Nehruvian model of development was that along with economic growth, social justice can also be addressed. This made the government establish big industries in large numbers, such as at Durgapur, Rourkela, Bhilai steel plant, etc. To meet the demand for this industry, various minerals like iron, aluminium, manganese were mined. Most of the places which they were mined were the tribal areas. The marginalized people who were being directly affected by the development projects like mining started raising their voices. Mining had caused massive displacement of people, and they all shared the similar kind of experience like massive displacement without proper rehabilitation and compensation, loss of livelihood and disruption in the traditional economy. NTPC had displaced tribals in Jharkhand by acquiring 4,10,000 acres of land was allotted for coal mining in Chhattisgarh. It is also well known that the dam affected people in Hirakud are yet to get proper compensation. Let's understand what are the environmental impact of mining in India. There is a disruption of ecology due to mining. Mining has damaged the forest and agricultural land of indigenous people in Jharkhand. There is a continuous depletion of the groundwater. Waste like acid mine drainage and other liquid effluents from the coal mine areas. The factories have polluted the water bodies like the natural rivers and the streams. Air and water pollution has resulted in unsafe human settlement near the mining area. Sukinda mining area in Orissa is one of the most polluted places in the world. Uranium mining in Jaidugada created a hazardous condition for the inhabitants because of the radioactive waste. People have developed various health diseases as the water body, air and soil are being contaminated due to the radioactive particle. Mining has affected indigenous people even more as these areas are the places of habitation for them. It has posed a serious threat to their existence. From Chhattisgarh to Jharkhand to Orissa, the same story continues as the indigenous people are being deprived from their land, forest and resources. Arim Pali terms this as internal colonialism. Mining has caused alienation of land of the tribal which they have enjoyed since long. Society, culture and religious identity of the indigenous people intimately linked to the land. Urbanization, coal mining, building infrastructure like roads, township railways have contributed in this process of alienation. Mining has also contributed in loss of livelihood as the people are being displaced not only from their habitation but also from their land and other resources. These displaced people are further left with no choice in except getting low-wage jobs, and they are forced to migrate. They also suffer from indebtedness. Their lack of formal skill makes them vulnerable for the job market. Increasing mechanization also leads to unemployment among the people. What are the cultural impact of mining? Mining caused by forceful eviction of the people affect the people culturally. Nature plays a significant role as human being is closely associated with it spiritually. The Niyamgiri movement in Odisha has cited the sacred belief over the hill as one of the most important factors while contesting the Vedanta. Mining would disturb the cultural space by destroying their place of worship and sacred character. Understanding of resistance and justice movement is very necessary to have a complete understanding of the development discourse. Failure of the state in addressing the grievances of the people is the main reason. Large number of the people are being affected due to mining activity. According to a data circulated by Lok Sabha, a total of 12,66,890 persons are being affected by mining activity. The people have responded to the state through both violent as well as non-violent ways. Both the responses have challenged the dominant understanding of development. People respond to different issues in various ways. Can they all be termed as social movement? How do we view Chipko Andolan, Kunda Kulu movement, Niyamgiri, POSCO, Narmada Bachao Andolan, etc.? European origin of the concept of social movement views it as making sense of the concerned citizen for the emancipation of the exploited class and to create a new egalitarian society. There is no agreement about the definition of social movement, as often political environmental movements are clubbed together in the social movement. Marxist framework deals with economic structure of the society through class analysis, whereas non-Marxist framework looks into other institutions like religion, education, media, apart from the coercive nature of the state. Social movements are collective action of the people against the exploitation of the dominant social order and the state for a better alternative one. Bloomer holds that social movements are collective enterprises which are dissatisfied with the present form of life and seek to establish new order of life. On the other hand, Tarot suggests that along with the above-mentioned collectivity of people, sustained interaction with the opponents is necessary for distinguishing social movement from others. Della Porta and Diani define social movement as informal network based on shared belief and solidarity which are mobilized through conflicting issue by frequent use of protest. Thus, we have different approaches explaining the various aspects of social movement. From this discussion, it is clear that such elements are necessary for the social movement such as organization, leadership, ideology, and sustainability. Ted Gurr has brought the idea of relative deprivation in understanding the social movement. But M.S.A. Rao believes that relative deprivation is a necessary requirement but not the sufficient condition for the protest movement. T. Keoman differs with the deprivation theorists on the ground that they view movement as temporary aberrations rather than as an ongoing process. Rajni Kothari also believed that social movement is the product of the failure of the state in the social transformation of the society. Gail Omved makes the point that the old social movement has used class as the categorical basis which does not have room for explaining the gender, peasant and natural resource issue. So, through her broad-based definition of neo-social movement, she tries to incorporate the anti-caste movement, women's movement, environmental movement, etc. into this category. She further suggests that the new social movement not only represent the oppressed and the exploited social group in the new world capitalist system, but also argue for a new and alternative path to development. Niyamgiri Hill is a part of the northern eastern Ghat Hill range, which covers the Kalahandi and Rayagada districts of Odisha. In 2003, the London-based Vedanta Resources signed a memorandum of understanding with the government of Orissa for mining the Niyamgiri Hills with the state-owned Orissa Mining Corporation along to construct a refinery. The Vedanta Group of Industry has invested Rs 5,000 crore in building this infrastructure. The green signal from the Orissa government to mine and build the factory left the local people in helpless condition. The local population of the Niyamgiri are mainly tribals and Dalit, covering 104 villages. Tribals like Kondha group constitute about 85% of the population and the rest are Dalit. The Dongaria Kondha, the Kutia Kondha and the Jhadia Kondha are the varieties of Kondha we find in Niyamgiri Hill, whose numbers are 7,952 as per the 2001 census. These Kondha groups are declared as primitive tribal groups by the government and they are eligible for special protection. The area also comes under the Schedule 5 of the Indian Constitution. The mining activity of the companies brought the survival and existence question for the tribals and the Dalit. The Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti was transformed within the year to fight against the company and government assault. Lingraj Ajad, Lado C. Kaka were the leaders who were leading from the forefront. The Niyamgiri movement raised some of the fundamental issues of development, ecology, human rights, and the role of the state. First of all, the Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti raised the issue of displacement of the Adivasi and Dalits who come under the PTG, that is the primitive tribal group. The mining of the hills would result in the displacement of the population from their habitat. Secondly, the ecological cost would be immense. The Niyamgiri hills have dense, vast forests of flora and fauna, wildlife, and various streams and rivers are originated from here. The mining activities would destroy everything. The loss of the environment would be irreparable. Thirdly, it would alter the traditional subsistence economy, which is very much in a symbolic relation with the nature. The Adivasis and Dalits are dependent on the forest for their survival, from forest produce to various medicinal plants. Fourthly, the Kondha community consider the Niyamgiri hills as sacred and spiritually they have great significance in their lives. The hilltop is the residing place for the presiding deity Niyam Raja. Fifthly, the very act of the company and the government is against the Constitution of India. It violates the various laws related to environmental laws for tribal right. As already mentioned, the government cannot interfere with the rights of the tribal in the area which come under Schedule 5 of the Constitution of India. Neither the company nor the government took the permission of the Gram Sabha before signing the agreement. This is a clear violation of the Indian Constitution. They also violated the FRA. Apart from this, the area comes under the Schedule 5 of the Constitution of India, which respects the lands right of the scheduled tribe and empowers the local Gram Sabha to take decision. Also, as per the FRA, the entire area comes under community forest resources and the government recognizes the pre-existing right over these lands by the local communities. According to this law, the Kondha communities are empowered to ensure their habitat is being preserved from any form of destructive practices related to cultural and ecological heritage. So the Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti not only challenged the legality of the agreement between the company and the government, but also the human rights violation by them. This was followed by a long peaceful struggle against the company and the government. The government, through its police and military forces, terrorized the tribal and the Dalits and made every attempt to silence them. Many times, leaders like Lingraj Ajad and Sikaka and other activities were jailed and tortured. They were accused of having link with the Maoists, but the movement fought a non-violent and peaceful battle. In 2004, 3 writ petitions were filed in the Orissa High Court and Supreme Court challenging the mining lease for violating the 5th schedule of the Constitution and environmental and forest conservation law. The Samata judgment of the Supreme Court, in which the court has observed that government is also a person and the mining in scheduled area is null and void, was also cited. The hearing began in the Supreme Court in 2004 and the court constituted a central empowered committee to advise it in the investigative aspect of the case. The Ministry of the Environment and Forest in 2006 had got clearance for constructing the refinery on the condition that it would outsource the bauxite from outside. But the Forest Advisory Committee of the Ministry of Environment and Forest found the several violations of the environmental law and the non-compliance of the Forest Right Act 2006. This led the Ministry of Environment and Forest to appoint 4 members committee comprising of Dr. N.C. Saxena, Dr. S. Parasuraraman, Dr. Pramod Khan, and Dr. Amita Bhavishkar on 29 June 2010. The committee was empowered to investigate the issues of displacement caused by the project, socio-cultural impact on the tribal communities, the ecological impact of the project, and the allegations of violations of Forest Rights Act of 2006. The committee submitted its report on 16 August 2010. It found the violation of the Forest Rights Act 2006 and Schedule 5 of the Indian Constitution. It also reported that non-compliance of the various guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court of India. At the same time, the committee made a detailed study of the socio-economic ecological implementation of the mining of the Niyamgiri Hill. The report recommended not to allow the mining activity in the area as they would pose a great threat to the primitive tribal group. They further cited it would destroy the livelihood, environment and various natural resources. On the basis of the report, Jairam Ramesh, then Minister of Environment and Forest, banned the mining by the Vedanta. The Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti was always alert and they utilized every moment. Many protests were held opposed the mining. A delegation to the governor on June 2013 asked for conducting Gram Sabhas in all 200 villages. The state along with the companies always collaborated in suppressing the movement by use of force and different methods. As Ghansam Shah views that the state always looks at the social movement with suspicion and as a challenge to its legitimacy of the governance. As Felix Fedel argues, if there is something called celebration of Indian democracy, then it should be in Niyamgiri, where the people were authorized to take a final call on mining, which was going to affect them most. On the basis of it, the Ministry of Environment, Government of India cancelled the lease agreement with the Vedanta company on mining. There were many instances of the company violating the law and Constitution of India. It overlooked the environmental and human rights issue. First of all, the forest is the home of the Dongaria, Konda and indigenous tribal group. They are fully dependent on the forest for their survival based on subsistence economy, forest produce, fishing and hunting. To recap, the people under the banner of Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti fought against both the company and the Odisha government both inside the court and outside through the movement. The case leading to forest clearance and legality of establishing the factory went to the Supreme Court and Environment Ministry. The company too went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was asked the government to conduct Gram Sabha. The Gram Sabhas rejected the mining. The Niyamgiri Court says that the Indian state in a very poor light with respect to upholding the Constitution of India. It indicates violation of the Constitution of India by the government as the area comes under 5th schedule which empowers the Gram Sabha to take final decision. The company and the government have violated the Forest Act as well. The movement could be seen in a larger concept of new social movement as put forth by Gail Omved as critique of the dominant discourse and also suggest an alternative discourse which are more democratic, egalitarian and inclusive. This module has tried to explain the idea of development holistically by locating it in the larger discourse. The dominant understanding of development has serious flaws, which ignores the consequence of it over the people and ecology. The resistance and justice movement is not only critical for the dominant discourse, but it also suggests the alternative to the present development model. The movement also poses many uncomfortable questions like development for whom? Who sows the seeds of development and who takes the fruit of it? From the various studies, it has been clear that the state has failed in rehabilitating the people who are being affected by various projects. It also points out the imagination of policymakers that they have serious flaws which are devastating in nature. This approach never takes the opinion of the people who are going to be affected by this project. At the end, the module has tried to demonstrate the power of the people movement. It has shown how the understanding of the marginalized people idea of development and democracy are truly democratic, egalitarian and inclusive in nature. Thank you.